This is Matt Rosen, and this is the Grit Mindset with me, your host, Matt Rosen. The mission of the Grit Mindset is to inspire and empower our listeners by delving deep into the journeys of those who have faced significant challenges and emerged stronger. Through authentic conversations, we uncover the mindsets, strategies, and lessons that have propelled these individuals to overcome adversity and achieve success. My aim is to provide actionable insights and real-world advice to help our listeners cultivate their own grit and navigate their personal and professional lives with confidence and resilience. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Grit Mindset. I'm your host, Matt Rosen. Really excited to have this guest here today. I've got Melvin Bullitt. He is a former Indianapolis Colt. He also played for the Texas A&M Aggies, so we have that in common. And he is now the founder of the Bullitt Experience. So Melvin, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I've been excited about this and I've been researching your career, but let's kind of start with what you're doing today.
Well, today I am the owner of the Bullitt Experience. It's a elite performance training facility that really has more to offer than that. We have 2 full turf football fields. We have indoor volleyball, indoor basketball, weight training area, pickleball courts.
Sounds like a fun place. That's over in Rockwall, is
It's
that right?
in Raleigh, Texas, right next to Rockwall, kind of in that northeast Dallas area. But it's truly a place for community, for families, for parents, for anyone that wants to be active and really, get involved in the sport they grew up loving or currently want to get into.
Yeah, so you guys have kids sports competing there, you have people training there.
We have adult sports too, so we have pretty much everything you can ask for someone who wants to stay active, just a positive atmosphere and something that you want to be involved in.
Yeah. What gave you the idea to get that started?
I've always been a gym rat growing up, but it kind of grew into something. It started as, when I was playing in NFL, my dad, he did a lot of sports training with high school athletes and middle school athletes. And when I was in the NFL, we started a small gym. And then when I got done, it just grew and grew. And then we built our own facility and it became something bigger than I could ever imagine. And it is what it is today. And that's kind of where the name comes from, the Bullitt Experience. It's something that I always say, it's not about me, it's about us, it's about community, it's about everybody being involved. I want to give you that Bullitt experience of kind of what I had growing up in, especially for youth and even adults that now want to be involved in sports and provide a nice atmosphere for them.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about kind of your early days. You mentioned that you grew up kind of a gym rat and an athlete. Maybe take us through a little bit of your background, where you're from, and what ultimately got you into being a football player.
Yeah, I always was, football's like truly one of my first loves. I always like to say, I was a basketball player first, but, football was what really got me going. And just, from high school and watching Texas A&M games, I always wanted to go to Texas A&M and be an Aggie. My dad was an Aggie. My uncle was an Aggie. My mom is from College Station. Yeah, Gig'em, right? And just from there, just wanting to, my dream was always to be in the NFL. And I truly dreamed that all the time. Like I really dreamed it. So getting a chance to be in the NFL and play on such a prestigious team like the Indianapolis Colts, being a captain for them, I always tell the kids that I'm involved with now, like you really have to think it. You have to think what you want in life, and it can happen. It may not go the way that you plan it, but it will happen. And that's something that I tell them all the time. And I'm like, guys, I pinch myself. Like, even with this facility, what we're doing now, like, I dreamed this thing. So it's something that, is very special to me. And being able to play in the NFL and be prevalent and have a good career is difficult. And that's something I'm proud to say that I was able to do.
That's awesome. What were some of the challenges you had to go through making your way from playing in youth sports to playing at A&M to playing for Indianapolis? Because there's very few players that make it, that jump into college, even fewer that get to the NFL. And it's only a couple thousand ever play in a Super Bowl, and even less that are a Super Bowl captain, no less.
Yeah, it's challenges. They come in bunches. And I was challenged with being undersized, and then I finally hit a growth spurt, and then being undrafted. Being an undrafted free agent is extremely challenging. That's one of the hardest things I think that people don't realize that you're going through. Like, you are literally trying out every single day that you're going to make the team. And then even once you get on it, you're still trying out daily to stay on the roster.
How many different teams did you try out for?
Just the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
That was it. I always believed in myself. And when I got the call on draft day, and it wasn't to be drafted, it was as an undrafted free agent. Man, that hurt. Like,
I
I
bet.
cried. I cried, real hard tears because I feel like, I did all this work and I didn't reach my goal of and my dream of being drafted. What these guys are gonna go through this upcoming week.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some guys just like me that are undrafted. Like, just know that you can get there. You just gotta put the work in. You gotta believe and you gotta study. You gotta know the game. But going through that was tough. But I was, man. I even think about it now. Being on a team with Coach Tony Dungy, Jim Caldwell, Bill Polian, the late Jim Irsay. I mean, iconic people in the NFL that believed in me, that made me a captain. That's something that, I mean, as I say, I try to hold myself to a higher standard, knowing that that's something that I was able to accomplish.
Yeah. So, what were some of the things you going through your head? Obviously, you got over the tears of not being drafted. Like, what were some of the things you had to say to yourself and prepare yourself to go through that process?
During that time, you got to take it one day at a time, because no day is guaranteed, and you truly have to go in with the mindset of each day I'm gonna get better, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn something, and you got to learn to be a good follower first. You got to find the right people to follow. I was very fortunate. I had guys like Bob Sanders, Antoine Bethea, Peyton Manning. These are guys that, man, Gary Brackett. I could go on and on. Dwight Freeney, like true Hall of Fame type players and leaders in a locker room, and those are the guys you gotta learn to follow first. And I always tell my athletes at Bullitt, like, hey, you guys, be first when you come in, find the athletes that do the things right, be like them, and then as you learn, as you grow, you'll be leaders, and that's what you want to develop into becoming a leader, and that's what I was able to do even with the Colts, is
Well,
to be a leader.
well, it sounds like you had a lot of great mentors. Did you actually go out and ask them to be a mentor? Did you just model their behavior? Tell us a little bit about
No, it's
that.
it's more about awareness,
Yeah.
and I learned that from my mom and my dad. They always instilled in me, even going to school, Melvin, making sure you're paying attention, being aware of, the good kids to be around, and groups to follow, and that's something that I try to do at our facility, is letting people know and kids know, be a good person,
Yeah.
be nice to everybody, and you never know who could really be your
Yeah.
friend, and that's something that's important. So just having awareness, and watching the guys that are successful. What do they do on a day-to-day basis? How do they prepare? How do they get ready? How they treat their bodies? How they even watch film. Those are all little things that add up. And brick by brick, you get better.
You mentioned your mom and dad. Before we talk about your NFL career, I don't want to leave that point. Talk about the influence they had on your life.
Oh, they do, even to this day. My dad, he's the one who really got me started in football. My mom, she instilled the faith in me of, believing in myself, believing in God, and just, really pushing to do the best I can. And, I try to do the same thing for my kids now. Parents are everything, and I'm blessed to have two really good parents. I grew up in a great home. I could never, give one of those stories of, oh, I didn't have this. That. My parents provided, with the little to nothing that they had, they provided everything that I needed, just with love and a good foundation at home.
Yeah, well, they did a great job. So let's talk about. I'm sure all the listeners are curious to hear is about what that NFL career looked like, the ups and the downs.
Yeah, the ups, just going from being an undrafted free agent to the second season of my career being a starter, becoming a special teams captain, then being a full-time captain, playing in the Super Bowl, being a captain in the Super Bowl. I still brag today to some of my friends. I have one of the highest grades for a safety in Super Bowl history, and that's something that I can live by, and that's I did that. And the downs part, man, I was, someone who, I was reaching the peak of my career, and I had 3 shoulder surgeries in less than 18 months. And that's something that really took me to a spiral downhill in a lot of ways that a lot of people don't know about, dealing with addiction, painkillers, and things that really play on your mind, what I didn't get to do, things I didn't get to accomplish.
Because you played what, 4 or 5 seasons?
I played 5 years, and I feel like that was 5 years too short.
Yeah.
My whole goal was always get 10 years, and I know that I could have, and there's always that what could have been thought. And the transition part was just so tough, man. It's just, watching guys still playing that you could play with, that you feel like you're better than. And I know there's a lot of guys that deal with that that never got the opportunity that I got. But I don't want to compare myself to anyone else. Just only what I can do to be better, and that's something that I really had to learn. And man, even learning to deal with yourself and learn to appreciate and learn to take counseling and do all those things. That's something that I feel like everyone really needs to open their mind up to and really embrace.
Yeah. So at the end of it was 2010, 2011, you ultimately had to exit the NFL. Talk about we talked about this when I met you when we were at the Charles Haley Poker Tournament. Great event for those listening. I'm glad he connected us. Talk about what it was like to leave football, because that had been your love, your dream, your entire life.
Yeah, starting to play football at the age of 5, and then that's all you're bred to play the game, and you're getting ready for something every fall, and you're dedicating your whole year for it, for 14, 15 games, and then just like that, it's over with. That transition, man, was the toughest thing that I, even to this day, at times I still deal with, because it's so much more than just the game itself. It's the preparation, it's the locker room, it's the camaraderie, it's even getting your body and your mind prepared. The accountability. I loved being accountable to my teammates. I loved being accountable to my coaches. That was something that was like my office, and just having it stripped away from you over something that you can't control, that can definitely, man, put a hard, mark on your mindset. And if you don't get control of it, there's a lot of guys who struggle with it very badly. And you know, it's just something that even to this day I can't explain, because unless you've been there and been in that moment, it's extremely difficult to deal with.
Did you even know which game was your last or gonna be?
You know what? I never forget my last game, playing against the Cleveland Browns, and I knew something happened in my shoulder again, and I was like, man, this is my third time. Who's gonna take me? Like, who is gonna want me?
Yeah.
And that's what you feel like. You like, who really, like, it's over. And I remember in that moment, like walking off the field for that last time, man, and just having the chills, and just knowing that, man, this is probably my last time playing a game. So I'm getting emotional right now just thinking about it. And everything you've worked for, built up for, it's tough. And but you know, life goes on, right? So you got to try to pull yourself together, and then go to the next phase in life, and that can be difficult. And there's a lot of guys out there who, as you see, men dealing with mental health, and not to take anything higher than the other, but that is something that I've worked my entire life for. And to reach your dream and just have it stripped away over something that you cannot control, man, that's heartbreaking.
That's tough, and I know a lot of players have had to go through that. Talk about how you overcame it. I mean, ultimately, you become a very successful entrepreneur, starting the Bullitt Experience, but I'm sure there were some dark moments and tough times getting from the end of your NFL days to getting a business going.
There were, and there were some extremely difficult times. I even checked myself into a rehabilitation center, dealing with a lot of mental health, continuing with counseling, and there were times that I just finding your identity, like who am I even, and that was something that as a young man, just trying to figure out what do I want to do next. Like, this is all I've ever done. Is that who I am? Like, is that all I've ever been? Like, is that the only reason people have ever liked me? And like, who is Melvin Bullitt? And to some people, like, oh, he's just speaking in third person. Then you start to think, like, man, like, that's all I ever was. Like, who am I as a person? Like, this other person is so much better at what they do, and this and that. And it really takes a toll on you. And that's something that I think that as men today, we really need to accept it, opening up. Emotions are real. Let them run through your body. And I even talk about that with my kids. Like, hey, look, you know, express your feelings. Like, talk to someone. Like, it's very important. The transition is real, and it's tough, and it's something I deal with daily. And I'm very, I like to say, after I left All Points, my perspective on life was so much different. Just
All Points was the
All
facility
Points
you
North,
went
that
to.
was a facility I went to. Just understanding people and what they're dealing with, even especially people with dealing with addiction. I've dealt with that before, and that's an ongoing battle, and that's a day-to-day struggle. And dealing with mental, strength and grit and toughness. And you learn that, be tough, be mentally strong. You have to know what type of what type of mental toughness
Yeah.
that you're dealing with, and circumstances and situations, and what really matters.
Well, I imagine that mental toughness does come with a toll at the same
It does.
time.
It comes with a heavy toll, and understanding how to, turn it on and off, and understanding and taking things into perspective, what really matters at this point. And that's something that, continuing to understand it and deal with, I think that's very important. So, it's I'm thankful. I'm very thankful for everything I have and accomplished, but it's something that I don't take for granted.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned grit and you're on the grit mindset. So I ask every guest, what does it mean to you?
That's a good question, and I wish I had a lot longer to think about that. But grit is, be thankful that you're able to wake up daily and be able to have the opportunity to pursue what you love to do, and have the opportunity to be able to even fight through it, and have the opportunity for the next day. I always wake up thankful that I have the opportunity to impact young people and give them positive words, and let them know, hey, look, you want to accomplish something, and especially in sports, there is and there isn't. Like, you either going to do it or you're not going to do it. So you have to know that you got to give everything you have and do your absolute best, and you got to live with that.
Well, it seems like you're an exceptional role model in the community around the Bullitt Experience. Talk about what it was like building that out, because I think you've been in how long? How many years has this been on?
We're going on 10 years. It'll be 10 years in 2027.
Congratulations, that's
thank
awesome.
you. It's been tough. Business is very tough, especially being an entrepreneur. It's not something. It's definitely not for the weak. It is. I mean, you are truly working your hardest daily, and I think more than on the physical labor side, on the mental side, like, you have to really apply yourself and understand and kind of know your field and what you're doing, and be able to adapt and adjust, because everything is not going to be the same, and it's different year to year.
What's been the most challenging thing you've had to overcome as a business owner? Were you classically trained in business, or do you have to figure it out as you went?
No, I think being thrown in the fire of a business is something that is, the number one thing. And I think letting go,
Yeah.
letting your people operate, letting them blossom, letting them do what they do best, and trusting that you have the right people in place to help you with your dream. Because ultimately, that's what it is. Especially once you get to a certain level of business, you can't run everything by yourself. And that's where I got to the point where I was like, I got to put the right people in place and let them do what they do best. And I got to trust it. They have the best interest in mind, and they're going to do their best. And that's where it comes of being a team. And that's what, we talk about. We have to be a true team in order for this thing to work.
Yeah. How many folks do you have working for you?
Oh, we have a good, all collectively, if you consider in different sports. And when I say employees, you're talking about people that are all working with Bullitt together, upwards of 15 to 20.
Yeah.
And that's a very small business, but we're a large scale. We're in a large community. We have a 20,000 square foot facility.
That's huge.
We have multiple sports. We have rentals. We have football fields, soccer leagues. We have so much going on. That's not something one or two people can do.
No,
it takes a true team.
Yeah. How do you instill grit within your team? I imagine they've had to go through some hard times as you've gotten the place up and running, as you've learned, as you've kind of handed things off to them.
I think it's more of, understanding what the process is we're trying to go through, and truly trying to have a plan and executing that plan, and then holding each other accountable. That's something that, we always talk about. And a lot of things, it is what it is. Not everyone's gonna love the Bullitt Experience, but you're gonna have people that's their happy place. So whenever we have those people, we never want them to come in and whatever we're going through is gonna fall off on them. I don't know what they may be going through at their house, their job, but when they come to Bullitt, this is their safe space, this is their safe zone, this is their highlight of the day. We need to make sure that they enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, it seems that you've got a lot of passion around growing, future athletes and really humans. Talk just a little bit about your philosophy for training, for coaching. I could just hear the passion in your voice around, helping younger kids. And
Just daily being the best you can, 1% better. We always say that, the Bullitt Experience, TBE, better every day. I say that, just better every day, just be a little bit better. And even if it's in one aspect of what you're doing, just giving that effort and, selling out. Football relates so much to life. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Being accountable to your teammates, to your coworkers, making sure that you do what you're supposed to do. These are all things that, just in life, if you try your best, it's hard to fail. Like if you give it 100%, it's impossible to fail. You might not get the result you want, but you're gonna get something out of that. You're gonna learn something, or something's gonna come that's gonna be so beneficial that you didn't realize that you had coming.
Yeah, no, I love the message and the whole visualizing that you're going to be an NFL player, visualizing you're going to build a Bullitt Experience. Through the book, I kind of based this show on Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I'll distill it down is like, if you write it down, you think it, you can achieve it.
Yeah, I'd say that I tell my athletes, think it, visualize it, see yourself doing it. And I used to do that before the games. Like I would go through with my coach, and we'd go through our plays, and I would visualize how I'm gonna make the tackle, how I'm gonna break on this ball, like if I'm gonna get an interception, and those things would begin to happen. Visualization is so huge, and just what everyone says now, manifesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, our age group, we say visualize,
Yeah.
visualize. So that's something that I really try to tell my athletes, like, visualize what you want in life and work towards it.
Yeah.
And you can see it happen.
You made some amazing plays, some great interceptions that changed the outcome of the game. Did you visualize those?
Those I think I made a little bit of luck, a little bit of film study, and then just
Yeah.
a lot of hard work. So those I can't give visualization credit for, but I will say a lot of my success has come to me visualizing positive things, and continuing to work on that even in the transition period, because honestly, the transition period is much tougher than the time period of the NFL.
How long did that take for you? Or it
As
sounds
far
like it's still
as
ongoing.
it's still ongoing, and I don't think that's something that'll ever end.
Yeah.
You got to talk about 30 years, 25 years of my life dedicated to doing that. I'm just barely getting started in the second half.
Yeah.
I'm 41 years old now. I got a long way to go, and I'm learning daily. I'm learning how to deal with people. I'm learning how to be in large crowds. That's something that, is not very comfortable a lot of times. So those are just things that, you got to work on and continue to progress at.
Yeah. We talked about, you've got 3 children. How are you a role model for them, and how do you instill grit in them? That's something I always ask people with kids.
I think with them, I try to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, as parents, we all feel at that from time to time. Telling them to do something, I go right back and do what I told
Totally.
them not to. But just continuing to instill in them positive messages, and then talking through things. It was a different era when we were growing up, but conversation is so big. And then also telling them, talk to your friends and talk to other people that you might not know. You never know who can help you and who you can help.
Yeah. There are 2 items I wanted to come back to. One that just caught my curiosity. You talked about how you watch film and that being a differentiator for you. I was just curious what you meant by that.
Oh, watching film is everything.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what your opponent's doing. You have to find tendencies. You got to find tendencies in the other coaches,
Yeah.
and down and distance, even what they do against certain defenses.
Yeah.
And once you start to do that and learn how to do
Yeah.
it, you become a better player. And that's why I always tell our parents that we have, I say, hey, I want kids that are good in the classroom.
Yeah.
The reason I want kids that are good in the classroom, that's going to translate to the field or to the court.
Interesting.
Whatever they're doing. If you're good in the classroom and you're an intelligent person and you try hard, you're going to be an intelligent, try hard person on the field as well. Athletically, I can help you with that. We can get better.
Yeah.
God gave us 2 arms, 2 legs. Some might be more coordinated than
Yeah.
others, and some might be special.
Yeah.
But for the majority of us, we have something similar. But here, this is where everything starts. Everything starts up here. And I just can't go over enough on how your mindset can change your perspective and your outcome on everything.
Yeah, I love that. Get 1% better every day.
Yeah, just in different aspects, because we're not going to get overall stronger
Yeah.
every single day. But if I could just change a little something in what I'm eating,
Yeah.
really be a little bit more disciplined in, I'm gonna make sure today, this morning, I'm gonna get up. I'm not gonna scroll my phone. I'm not, and these are all things you got to work on. If you can do a little bit every day and get that much better, I mean, over time, there's no telling how good you can be.
Yeah, and I was also the saying, people often overestimate what they can do in a year, but way underestimate what they can do in a decade.
Oh man, I can't even imagine what if I even follow some of the footsteps that I even talk about
Yeah.
where I could be. And that's what I try to do. And so that's what I try to instill in my son and my daughter is like, hey, look, let's really try to do this
Yeah.
time. Let's focus on it. And I can already see the growth in them in a lot of ways. So that's if we all did that, man, it'd be a much different world, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's one other item that we kind of glossed over I want to come back to is about accepting emotion, letting it flow through you. I think you and I both grew up in an era where it was like, hey, just rub some dirt in it,
Yeah.
don't feel things. Just we'll talk about that a little bit.
I think that is something that as a community of athletes that we really need to learn. Like it's as men, it's okay to cry. Like
Yeah.
there's times where often daily, I tell my wife, I'm really feeling sad today. And she'll say why. So then we talk about it and that helps. And I think that's very important to really get that out and talk it through and let those emotions run through your body. And that's something that I really learned. Like let those emotions run through. Even I tell my athletes sometimes, I'm like, hey, if you're gonna cry and you want to cry, go to the restroom.
Yeah.
Cry it out for a little bit, come back. I promise you'll feel better.
Yeah.
You will feel better. And if you need to go home for the day, go home. And we got another day coming.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. And I think that's that's something that we used to hold as, oh, he's weak or she's weak,
Yeah.
or whatever. No, everybody has a moment.
Yeah.
Everybody has, no matter how tough you are, somebody or something is going to affect you.
Yeah. And I think I always think, hey, let the emotion flow through, and then decide how you want to act on it.
There you go.
So that comes
And
back to-
that's really it. And let's take the most positive route we can, and let's try to get better from it and not get worse from it. And we're all gonna stumble and fall short, but I think that's very, very important, and to continue to try to work towards that.
Well, this has been great. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. Are there any items or stories you wanted to cover that maybe we didn't?
I don't really have anything that, if you get a chance, check us out, www.thebulletexperience.com. You can visit our Instagram. We have a lot of cool things going at the Bullitt Experience. And just know that, like I've always say, you're probably not going to see me, but you're going to see Bullitt, and Bullitt's a true brand, and it's something that it's working toward being better every day, and positive athletes. We have from professional athletes to 5-year-olds to your everyday, what they call average Joe.
Yeah.
Like whoever, if you want to come and just break a sweat, check us out. We may have something for you.
No, that's awesome. Well, any closing thoughts for our listeners or pieces of wisdom, maybe even especially to the athletes out there?
Visualize it, and you never know what can come from it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, man, it's been great having you on the show.
Matt,
I'm glad.
I appreciate you.
I'm glad we met at Charles Haley's Tackle Tomorrow. We'll put links to the Bullitt Experience, and we'll collaborate on Instagram. And for all your listeners out there, hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. It's great having you on the show, Melvin. I wish you much success in the future with the Bullitt Experience and everything you do. And for this week's episode of The Grit Mindset, this is your host, Matt Rosen, signing off. Stay gritty out there.